everyone, welcome to The Zest, the official podcast of Orange Coast Magazine. I'm Chelsea Ranieri, and today's guest is an author, philanthropist, and the co-founder and partner of Wahoo's Fish Taco, which has locations across the U.S. as well as in Japan. He's also co-founded several other restaurants, including Toast Kitchen and Bakery, Bill Bake Shop, and Tableau Kitchen and Bar. Thank you so much for being here today, Ed Lee.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Of course, I am such a big fan of Wahoo's. It's like I've been going there since I was a kid. I grew up in Huntington, so the one on Main Street's like holds so many memories for me. And Maui Steak Bowl to this day, still my go-to.
That's nice. Yeah, no, yeah, Huntington. Unfortunately, you're dating us a little bit, but that opened in 1994. So
dang, I was too.
Yikes! Yeah. Well, last year Wahoo's turned 35. So that's
wow.
Yeah, and so more amazing than anything. I always tease my brothers, but we still like each other. We still hang out. Wing and I still surf together, and every so often Mingo pop in the water. But yeah, we're still brothers and surfing together and still doing this after 35 years.
Wow.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I love that so much. And you guys grew up in Brazil, is that right?
Yeah, so the four brothers, there's a doctor brother, the smart one in the family that didn't want to be hanging out with us. So we're born and raised in Brazil. That's what threw everybody off when they're like, how'd you come up with Mexican food? Like rice and beans were our staple growing up in Brazil. Every Sunday, you knew what you're going to have. Rice and black beans. And if we were lucky, we had some chicken, So that's why the black beans, when we introduced it, was everybody's like, whoa. What's that? Because we literally were the ones that introduced it to the world. Oh, yeah. Before then, it was just the regular beans, the pinto beans.
Yeah.
Mexican style pinto beans. But we introduced the black beans, even though, let's say Cuban restaurants had it. Uh-huh. But the world didn't know what black bean was until Wahoo started selling black beans, because that's what we grew up with. Yeah. Feijoada is the black bean soup in Brazil.
Oh, the beans are my favorite, and the rice too. With they're so flavorful, both of them.
And it's part of our diet still to this day. I mean, I can pass on most of the stuff, but rice and beans, a little salsa on top. Oh, that's like heavenly.
So good.
I know.
I'm really craving it now. What did your parents do when you were growing up?
So my parents are in the restaurant business too. My dad, he's amazing, mind blowing. Started cooking around 12. I mean, and then, when he retired, he already been cooking like 50 years. People just, and that was only in the 60s. But my dad is he's our hero. So, I was lucky enough to be born in the restaurant. Like literally my mom, she was pregnant already with me. We just opened the restaurant. She walked over to the hospital, gave birth, probably stayed there for a couple hours, came back to work, and the next day she picked me up. Oh, my mom is like superhero status.
Yeah, what a beast.
She comes back, starts working, and we lived on top of the restaurant. That was our home. So we played in the restaurant, worked in a restaurant. All my childhood memories, and whether it's myself or Wing or Mingo or Yang, which is the doctor brother, all of us were working in that restaurant, like doing dishes or doing something, doing the afternoons after school. And I hung out doing that. And then when we moved to the States, and my dad, again, is like superhero status. He just moves from Brazil, from a small farm town to Newport Beach, California.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a change.
I moved up here. I'm like, whoa, these Americans have freaking color TV, Dad. Color TV, what? More than 2 channels, So it was absolutely mind blowing. And my parents owned the Shanghai Pine Garden, Balboa Island. Again, and then, so to get cheap labor, he moved the whole family up here, and we were all bussing tables, washing dishes, prepping food. So we were growing up, we're part of his labor force.
Wow.
So, I know. So the restaurant's in our blood.
I love that.
Yeah.
Was there also a restaurant that they own in Costa Mesa that's now?
Yeah. The Hang Chow. The Hang Chow became the soup kitchen. Yeah. So
I worked there for Girl Scouts, or volunteered there for Girl Scouts at that soup kitchen.
Yes, so that we have a lot of history with that family that started the soup kitchen. The grandmother, she used to come in and talk to us about the fact that she was getting kicked out of her building, and originally we leased it to them, but they raised enough money and bought it. And my parents were excited to help because my parents were retiring anyway. And they said, this is a great cause for West Side Costa Mesa. And they were doing the after school programs. So it fit what my family always wanted to help with anyway, my parents. more than us. Me, I'm like, no, Dad, keep it. I'm just kidding.
That's so
Let's
cool.
open another restaurant, dude. Open a bar. That's what
When you were working at the different restaurants, were you also cooking?
No, but
Okay.
prepping galore. I can cook, but not like my dad. So my dad, like, I don't know what age we were. Like, let's say I must have been 12 or 13. My dad had enough of punishing us. Like, he's like, we can beat him. He's not going to do any, like, it's not going to help. It's like all those beatings are not going to help him. So instead, he would make us prep with him. Like you did something bad, you're going to work with him in the kitchen. So unfortunately, I was the only brother that was there a lot with my dad. I was there a lot. It's like peeling shrimp, egg rolls, rolling egg rolls, rolling wontons. You name it. I did so much of that because my dad would like, he'd be like, I'm not going to beat him anymore. He's too old. So that's a make feel shrimp. So that's how my dad punished us. Either that or wash the car.
Great. Yeah, right. That's a really great punishment, though. I'm sure you learned so much doing that.
Oh my gosh. I love, obviously when you're a child being punished, it sucked.
Right.
And later on in life, like I have way better knife skills than all my brothers put combined. Like I can use a knife like no other. I can peel. I can do all kinds of things with a knife. And we're not talking like the little small little knives, the Chinese, the chopper knife.
Yeah.
Like I can use that with my, and cut little things, big things, stripping chickens, so that's why when we opened Wahoo's, I was the back of the house guy. Wayne was front of the house. I was back of the house because I can fillet fish. I can, strip chicken, trim beef. I've done that. Literally, I can do that all my life. I mean, my dad was kind enough to like literally my senior in college. He goes, okay, promise me you're going to go back and finish this thing. After 6.5 years, please get this thing done, And so literally my senior year my last semester was the only time in my life I did not work in a restaurant. The rest of
college? Senior year of college or senior year of oh, wow. Where'd you go to college?
So I've been kicked out of a lot of places, but I ended up finishing at Vanguard University here in Costa Mesa. So Vanguard is like, oh, yeah, come on down. And actually, Mike, I finished there. I got a college degree. I got a business degree. So surprised not only my family, but all my friends growing up goes, oh, dude, you got a college degree? Yeah. I didn't do well in school. I always was goofing around, surfing. And that's the one thing like Pops, moving to Orange County. And then not only that, you move to Newport. I went to Newport Harbor High. All my friends are amazing surfers. So you start people ask me, why did you start surfing? I goes, well, I needed friends.
Yeah, right.
I needed to hang out with somebody. So I started surfing. So I started surfing when I was 14. Loved the sport. Worked a little bit in the surf industry and still working for Pops. I've always worked for my dad.
That's so cool. I read that you, in 1988, you were debating between going to law school and then starting a business. And obviously we know which one went out, but what was the deciding factor for you?
Okay. So it took me 6.5 years to finish college, right? So my mom and dad were always laughing. They had always made fun of me saying, hey, you have a doctorate or a master or something? I'm like, no, it's just a regular degree. And the funny thing is, you get a BS, right?
Yeah.
So I go, Mom, I have a BS. And you're full of it too.
Right.
So law school came, my parents look, there's 3 choices on my desk. I actually have both my letters here that I was going to get to Quicksilver. Since I worked in the surf industry, I was going to go back to Quicksilver or Billabong back in the day, Bob Hurley or Danny Kwok. I have a letter to both of those guys. And then I applied to law school. So did Wing, by the way. Wing applied to law school, and he got into a better law school than I did. And Mingo got into a great law school. So my mom's dream was for us to join my oldest brother. And it was going to be Lee, and Lee. And my brother was very successful at his law practice. So that was my mom's dream. But me, I was thinking, I did get into law school, not a very good law school, but I actually sat with my brother. I'm like, look, I'm going to go surf Mexico for a while because it doesn't sound like I'm actually going to be able to surf while I'm in law school. So while I was down there, I started panicking like, man, it took me 6 years to finish college. I don't imagine myself finishing law school in 2 years, 3 years.
Right.
I'm thinking, oh man, I'm going to be like 90 years old to be the oldest guy in freaking law school. I'm right, the oldest guy. So I came home and I talked to my brother and I begged him, and he's like, hey, I got to do something else, you know? And then I started thinking about the letters. I didn't want to deal with the sort of the politics of the surf industry. Mm-hmm. And then Wing and I talked and came up with a game plan, and it was our last shot. So Wahoos did not work. Wing and I had to go back to law school. Oh, and I think Wing would have been a much better lawyer than me. We joke about it, but I'd probably be like, I'd be horrible at it. So thank God Wahoo's worked. You know, like I'm so blessed that Wahoo started working.
Yeah.
And then after a year, my little brother joined us. He was in a way to go to really good law school, but we convinced him to stay back and help. And that's why Wahoo's, successful, is because Mingo came in and organized everything, got us our first paycheck. Like he goes, you two idiots, man. You stay in the front, you stay in the back, and just keep quiet, and just work. So he did put all the procedures that are put in place was done by my little brother. Wing and I really had nothing to do with that. Wing likes to take credit for it because a lot of people even know I have a little brother. They go, what? You have a little brother? Yeah, he's like the brains behind our family. But yeah, so I am thankful that Wahoo's took off. If not, again, I couldn't imagine myself as a lawyer. Would have been a bummer.
How'd you guys come up with the concept for Wahoo's?
So I've surfed Mexico 1,000 times. I was silly enough to drive to Cabo and surf. I've gone and surf. All the guys that grew up in surfing, but Wing and I and Mingo, of course, were fluent in Spanish, pretty fluent because we're born in Brazil, and so the language is very similar. So negotiating, I was literally at the dock at that trip, negotiating a boat ride to go surf Todos Santos and say, hey, maybe there's surf out there. Because it was like a horrible month. It was like no surf. It was hotter than heck. It was summertime, So I'm like, so we're trying to get a boat ride, but everybody on the dock trying to get on the boat was from Orange County or San Diego. What? I knew. And most of the guys, like all the Americans, I was like, hey, I know that guy. So and then you're negotiating. And while you're negotiating, you're drinking a Corona and having a fish taco. And so we didn't create the fish taco. We kind of stole the idea. But Wing and I we won't steal something direct, but we go out and go, oh my gosh, that works. So when we saw that, we came back and literally Wing came up with all the recipes. I came up with a menu with my little brother. Mingo and I came up with a menu. We wrote it all down what we wanted. My older brother was the one that convinced my mom and dad to give us the money. And that's how, Wing will tell you stories like, oh, man, we had this game plan. We had nothing. We had a piece of paper, no game plan. And, and my mom and dad furious as because they're like, we sent you to freaking school and you guys are going back to the restaurant business. They didn't want us inside the restaurants. They wanted us to be, lawyers, engineers, the typical Asian, pressure on us. But we convinced them, and then and here we are. I mean, 35 years later, that's mind blowing. That I love the fact that I still hang out with my brothers.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And now my mom likes us. She likes us again. She started liking us the year 2000. I can tell you exactly what happened. So, but anyway, so year 2000, she started liking us again. She's funny. The fact that she used to go, "This is my son, the doctor, the lawyer," and those guys, I look at that disappointment, like, oh, I sent you guys to go to it. And then the year 2000 goes, these are the Wahoo's brothers.
Wait, was that when it started taking off?
We got featured in a commercial and it went national. Yeah. The three of us, including my mom and dad, got featured in a Merrill Lynch commercial that went national. And people thought we're $1 billion company.
Yeah, right.
You were in you're watching the Super Bowl, not the Super Bowl, but the before the playoff games. People thought, oh my God, these guys are spending millions of dollars on TV, but they didn't know it was a Merrill Lynch commercial. It was amazing. So if you Google that up, they'll say, oh my God, look at the three. We actually had the agency outside of our corporate office back in the days, and they're like, it's for real. It's three Chinese brothers. They surf. Their warehouse got surfboards, skateboards, and they're running around with shorts, and they run a company. And we had 10 stores. And he goes, it's for real. And then she came in and interviewed us, and we got into this TV thing, and mom and dad forgave us all. Forgiven.
Oh,
Forgiven.
that's crazy that you went from 1994 to 6 locations in 2000. So sorry to back up a bit, because I know that was all you. So you guys divvied up the responsibilities as a sibling. Yeah. I'm not sure how well that would go over, but you took on real estate and expansion. So that was all you doing all that expanding.
Yeah. So
crazy.
The deal was from the day we opened from till now, I still pick all the locations. I deal with the contractor. So the joke is I get, I build it out and give the key to Mingo and Wing, and that's their job to do the rest. And Mingo is amazing. So we joke about it, right? Because I have to deal. But also in the same breath is no one wanted to deal with landlords, and neither did I. But then you land on that spot, like, shoot, one of us has got to go deal with it. And, and I've had now great relationships you build relationships with landlords.
Yeah.
Whether it's Irvine Company or South Coast Plaza of the world, you work with them, talk to them, and it becomes a relationship over the years. And so, yeah. So, I won't tell you the story why we divided the company each way, but it was as a matter of fact, it was 1998. In 1998, we divided. That's your job. That's your job, and this is yours. And we shook hands, and we went away, and that's how we divided the company. Divided our chores in the within our company. So
right, funny. That's so smart to do it that way. And you guys, what were some of the earlier challenges that you faced? Because I read that you guys had a recession pretty early on.
So we a couple of times we have survived so many different things that now we build now a piggy bank to make sure we would never have to go through that again. In 1994, we almost lost everything. It wasn't because of a recession. Unfortunately, my brother passed away. The attorney passed away in 93. And in 94, already had bought the property in Huntington Beach. But it was completely my fault. Now, of course, everybody wants to take credit. They bought Huntington. But my older brother bought Huntington together. And we literally drained all our finances to build that space. Wow. But doing the build out, we didn't have enough money. And then when he passed away, the banks recalled all the money that we had was sort of tied between mom and him. He negotiated all the things. So when he passed away, the guarantees were gone. People were going, hey, you 3 banana heads, without your brother, you guys, we're not sure if we trust you. So they recalled, and I think it was like $700,000. But back then, it's about 10 million, 50 million. We didn't have it. Yeah. So each one recalling. And then it was my job to go door to door. And that's how I found out how to beg for money, really beg for money, like $25,000. I'll take anything. Yeah. There's a lot of people that kick themselves in the rear. They could have been partners of Wahoo's for like $20,000.
Oh my God.
I need $25,000. I'll give you this. I can tell you so many weird stories about trying to bribe people. Just give me $25,000. Give me 10, because that gave me enough money to just pay for the next thing. And then finally we found one investor that gave us enough money to get through that year. And it was a rough year. And then, we started hitting like 2001, which is no one expected that. We survived, of course, all these things. But that year taught us a lot about who we were as a family too, because, my older brother was the leader of our family. He led us through all the changes from coming from Brazil to the United States. Everything that, the family does, we always had to get his approval. And without him now, it was like, the 3 of us had to scramble to see who's going to sort of take that position in leadership. Not forget Wahoo's, right? Forget Wahoo's, right. Like the leadership within our family. So it was very, very rough year.
Yeah, that sounds really hard. And then, sorry, which one was the first location?
So yeah. Wing and I love about that story because the only thing we guessed at that location,
the one on
in 19th. No, all the way west side.
Oh, west side. Yeah.
So in that time, again, I love the fact that there's all these crazy stories out there. We didn't know that was going to be such a key location, but back in the 80s, that was surf capital of the world because Quicksilver was back there, Billabong was back there, all the local shapers were back on 19th Street, like toward the end of Placentia, or like Whittier. So those are the guys I worked in that area for growing up. And so that's how we got connected into the surf world. First of all, my ex-bosses came to make fun of me, the fact that I was now making their food. But at any given moment, Dad had more pro surfers in the world at any given moment because they had to come in and talk to their sponsors. O'Neill, Quicks, like you name it, they were all back there. So that's how, Wayne got introduced to Mike Lesher, which is still one of my greatest heroes. He's an ex-boss of mine from high school. And Mike was like VP over Billabong. And that's how our connection to the surf world,
wow.
Like Wayne connected, and Wayne is an amazing connector. Like that guy is, I don't know how he got that talent, but he connected. Like Mike and him became like lost friends, and he started doing work with the surf industry. And then Wayne started doing surf events. We started getting more and more involved. But that area, West Side Costa Mesa, at that given moment, Hurley's still there, by the way. And Hurley's there. I don't know if Fruca's still there, but Volcom's there still. But all those big companies all started back then. All of them did. And all, Anyway, so West Side was like the cool place.
Yeah, that makes sense that the natural progression would be downtown Huntington then for the surf.
We actually went the opposite way. We got Sicily, and we actually went toward Laguna. So Laguna was our store. And when Mingo came on board, we said, let's try to open one more store together and see how it works. Because once Mingo got into our system, started making money, he's like, oh my gosh, this could be something now. Yeah. Then we opened Bristol, and Mingo never went back to law school. And that became our proven concept. Like Mingo really looked at that and was like, man, you can make money. And then it was like there was a short period of sadness in our lives too, because you stop surfing.
Yeah.
You have to work now. Wing and I had to work all the time. And Mingo too. Mingo was the first brother to get out of the restaurant altogether. So it got him a little office. So he started learning how to purchase, learning how to, pricing, inventory, all these things that Wing and I had no clue whatsoever. So Wing and I was like, let's just work. And we were working 7 days a week.
Wow.
And because we had 3 restaurants, now you're like 7 days, and people are like, oh, you surfed all that time. I'm like, dude, there was no surfing at all.
Yeah, right.
I don't even remember where the water. I just remember maybe surfing once in a while, just because you're just so frustrated. But then in 1993, I bought Huntington, and in 94, we opened it. We opened that was our 4th store.
Wow.
And that thing was, that thing almost broke our piggy bank.
Right.
So
Oh, man.
Was an early store. Yeah.
So I love this idea that you came up with, this company that you came up with, 7-hour drive. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Okay. So the reason why it's called 7 hours is my best friend and I, Danny Dickinson, and I have been friends since high school. But we used to have stores up in the Bay Area. So we would drive from my corporate office to San Jose, and it would take us exactly 7 hours.
Oh my God.
So we kept driving there, and then I think it's called the 156 highway, and that goes from the 5 and it cuts across to Gilroy. I think it's the 156, or it could be 151. But we kept seeing these signs, California's out of water, and then it started getting more nasty. The nastiness began. The governor causes a drought. The governor's a moron. Nancy Pelosi's a loser. All these signs and you're like, wow, these people are serious. But then one day we actually cut across, and we realized the reservoir was almost empty. It was almost empty. It was dry. So we start thinking to ourselves, how can Wahoos do a better job saving water? And you start looking around. And Danny's a full-time contractor for us. But then you start going, the ice machines, Americans are the worst about this. We're the only country that actually everybody has an ice machine.
I didn't know that, actually. That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's really bad for the environment for many, many ways. But anyway, so can't use that water, but it's being wasted. But then we found that the dishwasher is also the same concept. The dishwasher actually only uses 1.8 gallons of water because it's a recycling system, right? It's dirty water to wash your dishes, not dirty water, but soapy water, and then it dumps out, and then literally another half a gallon of clean water comes in, and that's how the dishes are clean. and it's sanitized. So we started looking at this water that's in there with soap, and we said, why can't we reuse it one more time? And that's my machine. I invented with Danny a machine that takes the water from the dishwasher. You spray, because that's going straight to the drain, sewer line. So you spray the dishes and it pre-washes, and now you put it in the dishwasher and cleans it. So you actually using that water one more time before you dump it into the to the sewer system.
Wow, that's so smart. Do other companies use it too, or is it just at Wahoo's?
Yeah, so we've been working on that. We have the patent, so not only do I have, I'm actually a patent holder.
Oh, that's so exciting.
So then I got the certificate, but we haven't been able to implement. And right now, again, California is pretty wacky. It's hard to get anything through. And now the reservoirs are all full. We had an amazing, great winter. Bad for business, but good for California. But if you go to the reservoir, it's overfilled. Waters, and then up in the Sierra, it's full of snow still. The pack is super heavy. So it's good for California. We're not in a drought, so people don't care about that machine. Right. They don't care about recycling anymore. Californians, I bet they're washing their cars, and you're like, oh.
It seems like a good habit just to have in general, though, is to just be recycling, doing that. Well, hopefully it comes together, because it's a really great idea.
It's just fun. It's fun to have that. Yeah. But hopefully I don't want us to go in the drought, but I want California to realize we're always going to be in need of water.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So in addition to Wahoo's, as I mentioned, you've co-founded so many successful restaurants, all of which I've been to and love. There's Toast Kitchen and Bakery, Phil Bake Shop, Tableau Kitchen and Bar, Kitsch Bar, Rooster Cafe, and more. How do you know when you have a winning idea?
It's about the partnership, right? So the Kish was our first sort of successful try outside of Wahoo's, because we also had a coffee shop. We used to have a coffee shop that did okay, but we didn't know how to run it, and so we turned it into a nightclub. That really made a lot of money. It was called Our House. So I actually owned a nightclub for a short period of time, but we were not, we didn't belong in that world. Mm-hmm. And we learned the hard way about, security and all the stuff. So, so when Jack came to me about Kish, I said, I don't know. So he goes, let's go on a tour to LA. And so my job was not really to partner up with Jack as to do a bar in the Kish, but it was more to help him find a lease, do all the paperwork for the license. That's what I do for Wahoo. So I said, I'll help you. So when the process of helping him goes, let's pitch in some money. And so we had all these partners that said, okay, let's do it. So we pitched in, including Mingo and Wing. Mingo and Wing came out screaming and crying about it. Give me your money, losers. So we opened it, and it was all Jack's idea. So it was not like it was my idea, but I helped him get the lease. I helped him get the liquor license. And it did super well. Yeah. The Kish Bar is still there. Credit to Jack. And then we sold it because the kid that owns it right now, came to us and gave us a lot of money. So it's okay. So Jack and I get teamed up to do the Rooster Cafe. So we had other partners, but it was Jack's idea. It was never mine. So we had some fun dealing with doing all that, and that's why. Okay, thank you, sorry about that. So that's how. So Toast was, again, it's a project where the chef came to me and we talked about. Well, by the way, before that, Tackle Box, Brian Husky,
Tackle Box, right?
Yeah. So unfortunately, we lost it because I can wind up getting into that thing. But so it's seeing their vision, and their vision, as long as it matches mine, we try to put it together. And normally the chefs come to me because they need help. Lease, like Mix, right? Ross and I have become friends because he came to the first
Mix.
I know, Ross. Shout out to Ross. But Ross didn't know about. As a chef, he didn't know you needed a grease intercept. So one of the buildings he brought to me, I said, you can't open a restaurant in here. I don't care what the landlord says. There's no possible way. You got a weird slab, and if you cut it, the building's gonna fall down. So I saved them from signing a multi-year lease based on that, because these guys they can't read, site plans. Yeah. So whether it was him, but anyway, the other parts is so they come in. The vision for Toast was to be part of the community, And we do a lot of things in the community with it. And Tableau is an extension of that. And Tableau, to me, are more it's the first time that we copied an event. We went to Illumination Foundation dinner. I don't know if you've ever been invited to that. But it's an amazing dinner. The chef comes in and cooks for just 10 guests, but he'll do a 7-course wine pairing for the 7 guests. But it's really hard to go to these foundations and bring your dishes, bring your team, and you got to cook in a tight area. It takes a lot of work. So we stole that idea. And that's why Tableau opened up. And the Tableau, the corporate name of it is Giving Table. Oh. So the table inside there, that when you go to Tableau, there's that big table.
Yeah.
My best friend from high school built that table for me.
Wow.
So we can now auction, we only don't participate to Illumination, but Girls Inc., all these other organizations can auction that off.
Yeah.
And then we now cook inside our own restaurant, so the food is better. Michelle and I can actually host people there, and it's much easier for us to be. And we donate that table 8 times a year.
Wow.
The other night, I can't think of it's Girls Inc. Girls Inc. sold it for $5,200.
Wow.
So step it up and really do something nice for the buyers of that auction item. So that's where our vision, and it fits what we want to do as a family. I know that my brothers are not involved in that, but for us, it's still our mission is to be part of the community somehow.
Is this Wahoo's family foundation?
No, but the foundation is kind of something completely different. That is, again, so when I opened Toast and Tableau, Mingo had 2 daughters going to school, college outside the state. I don't know how much that cost. And Wing was busy with his young son. But normally Wing and Mingo are part of all the things I do, crazy things I'll do outside of the family. But these 2 were the first time where they were busy, not with the careers, but, 2 girls going through, I can't think what college they went to, but outside state tuition. But going back and forth. And Wing has a young son. Wing has Levi. So they were busy. So that's where Michelle came along. Michelle and Dawn and Naomi Takahatas, they're both our partners. And they're like, we'll do it. So we're doing this. And we love going to we do a bunch of events with you guys too.
Yeah.
We love that part of our being part of the community is fun. And it's always to me, it's such a blessing to see my wife get some recognition because she's done a lot, but only in the background. But now if you come to the restaurant, there she is running around and people are like, oh, that's the boss. He goes, yeah, that's the boss.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of getting to meet her. She's such so kind, just a beautiful person all around.
Yeah. So she's a super connector like Wing too. So she loves being in the restaurant. And anyway, so the success comes by maybe being part of the, in the community, finding good talented chefs and working with them. Right now, Chef Jason I think he's blowing my mind because, and they're not, they don't have the egos that needs to be stroked all the time. Like Brian, if you know Brian Husky, he's out there in his shorts, he's goofing around, and he's an amazing talent. Jason is an amazing talent. Chef Holly is an amazing talent. So these kids come in and they're teaching me a lot more than they're teaching them. All I can teach them is how to how to build things, how to open the restaurant, where the equipment goes, and things like that. But besides that, it's all their food. I had no say whatsoever when it comes to their food.
The food's all incredible at all those places.
Yeah, thank you.
So in 2022, you co-authored After, Learning How to Live After the Death of a Child, which is a vulnerable retelling of the tragic death of your son. I'm sure that it took probably a lot to get to the point of wanting to write this book. What made you come to the conclusion that you wanted to write it?
So 7 years ago, Emilio unfortunately passed away. But you go through all the emotions. The hardest part is one day I had to go to a doctor's office and Michelle's there with me, and the doctor actually says, "Hey, your physical came out pretty good, except your liver. Your liver is pretty shot." He's like, "I don't know what you're doing, but," and I said, "Well," she asked me how much you drinking. I'm like, "Well, I don't know, a glass or 2." And she goes, "No." She's a good friend, Cheryl. She's like, "No, you're not drinking 1 glass or 2." your enzymes don't show that. And so we started talking, and Michelle actually, and this is an embarrassing story, which sucks, but Michelle's like, well, wait a second. We went to that dinner in LA. This is right after COVID. We went to dinner, a private dinner with just chefs and restaurateurs only. And she started going, wait a second. Right before we even walked in, we got there a little bit earlier. He goes, you must have had at least 4 glasses of champagne. Oh. And I'm looking at her going, no. She's like, yeah. You finish your 2, you finish mine, you went and got another one. And then during dinner, she actually lost track because she was like, white wine, red, red, red. So as her finger starts going, she's like, Ed, you must have drank over 2 bottles of wine in a short period of time. And then I finished it with a shot of cognac on the way home. So I grabbed the bottle of water and I drove her home. And I didn't even think twice, except in the doctor's office. Now it's like really freaking out because I could have killed my wife. Forgive me. I like whatever. It was not that I was suicidal, but I could have killed my wife. If not, I would have killed somebody on the road. And that family now is going to be feeling exactly how I felt for the last 3-4 years of my life. Wow. So the first phone call was that to Ron Adnan, my co-author. He's a really good friend of mine from college. And I said, man, I need help. And I need to start digging this journey to clean up my life. So the first part of it was just not drinking, checking in with them and, hey, how you doing? You know, I drink wine now, but it's much more totally manageable. And my wife, Michelle, will tell you, I watch a lot. So unbelievably is that 1 year of my life, I was probably a working alcoholic. Finishing, I lost track how many bottles, but I used to have a collection at home and it's all gone. Hundreds of bottles within 1 year. So that became the road to recovery. And then Ron kept saying, I kept reading books, tons of books, but none of them were helping me because they tell you the step, like whatever it says, 7 steps of grieving, but they don't tell you exactly how you're going to grieve to those moments. None of them were really helpful for me. So I decided when Ron kept saying, write this book. Tell them your story, but in plain English where people are going to read it and read it quickly, understand where you've been and where you're headed. And I said, oh, dude, I don't want to do that. And I said, because I'm not a writer. He actually have a folder that all the notes I had from counseling, over a year of counseling, all the notes was the book. I just had a format with Ron to put it in terms that people would understand. And for me, it had to do with surfing. So a lot of that is Ron's words, Ron helping me navigate through the things I wrote, all the notes I wrote, giving it to Ron. Ron rewrote everything and put it in that crazy little book. And in that book, it's like, it's sad that I've lost my son, but Michelle and I were featured on Fox one morning because this is Mental Health Month. And the next day, somebody wrote to the station and said, actually, a young lady was going to take her life, but she listened to us talk more, Michelle than I, and she's did not take her life. So Michelle and I struggle over this all the time, but the fact that at least we saved one life, the book is worth it. Oh yeah. If you ask me, is it the journey to get to that book? No, it's not worth it. It's never going to change, but it's too late. So moving forward, I know that at least we've saved one life. And now there's a lot of men that, will reach out to me and talk to me about that a little bit, because they see it and then they can feel that exactly. Oh, anger, how does anger look? Well, it's easy to tell people, but when you're actually going, you want to punch somebody in the head, it's like, that's the difference. But in the book, it tells you these little spots that you're going to go through. And the fact that it's like, and people ask me a lot, it's like, when you're so tired of after year after day, and then that you just don't want to wake up. But you're not suicidal. You're just tired. You're just tired of life. You're tired of the questions. You're tired. The one thing that sort of saved my life through that process, not only Michelle, obviously, and counseling, was I was busy opening toast. You're just busy. You're just keeping busy. But all that does is kick the ball down the road a little further. You're kicking this can. And sooner or later, you have to face it. The hardest part was after 1 year counseling, my counselor goes, I thought I was going to get a diploma or a little certificate or something. And he's like, no. I said, he actually said this, like, Ed, I've told you the whole time we've been counseling you, grieving is not fixable. You have to learn to live with it. And then in my mind, I'm like, why did I waste all this time if I have to learn to live with it? That's why I was here, to teach you how to walk with it for the rest of your life. So you're going to have good days, bad days. And of course, I drop other words to him, like, why are we wasting my time? But now that's the journey. I learned to live with it. I have a couple of fathers that I talk to. And we are journeying this thing together. And it sucks that there's a club, not a club, but a group that are in the same position I am. But it helps to talk to other people. So if you're not getting counseling, you can't call me. I'm not a counselor, and I don't want to make a mistake and tell people what to do. But when somebody calls me and says, this one, my counselor said, what do you think is going to happen? I goes, well, yeah, it's going to happen. So this is what you should, watch yourself to that. And the first thing is you tell them, don't drink, don't do drugs, don't try to keep your body healthy. And I know that, not drinking makes you think, but drinking, again, it's just going to make your brain foggy and kick this can down the road, because it's not going to go away by drinking. It won't go away. So these are the conversations I have with other men, and it's I've gotten the chance to speak to other churches and other organizations on mental health, and so it's crazy.
That's incredible. You've done such amazing work. I mean, just sharing your story and helping people like that. And then also all the philanthropy work you've done. I saw that you give lectures at colleges. And, but in addition to all this and your incredible success, is there anything that you would like listeners to keep an eye out for? Anything that you have coming up in any aspect of your life that you want to share?
Well, I can't announce what I'm going to do, but I think it's going to be fun toward the end of the summer. And I'll for sure call you back and say, hey, this is what's happening. But I think now working with Toast and Tableau is a great project. It's more of a passion project versus I don't have to go to work there. Yeah. I love being there. Michelle and I love being there. But at the end of the summer, we'll announce something a little bit bigger than what we want to do, because it's also about the community that we're in, like all the chefs that we've work with us. We'd love to do something with all of them. And so at the end of the summer, I think we're going to revamp and launch something a little bit more fun for everyone. So I'm excited about that, because it's not going to be about me. It'll be about these kids. It'll be about, so I'm hoping that we have a lot of fun. And the biggest thing this year for me, and then for Michelle too, is our son's getting married.
Oh my God. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I'm like super excited to have Beto get married. It'll be and his fiancee Pooja. So if they listen to this, I'm excited. I have your speech ready. I wrote it. So it's exciting. It's going to be 2024 is going to be a great, great year.
Definitely.
It is going to be a fun year already.
Oh, well, thank you so much for doing this. I have 3 final questions for you that we call the Thoughtful 3. So what advice would you give to a young entrepreneur who's just starting out? So,
that's all I get asked that all the time. I think they should go out there and get a mentor, talk to someone before going into that venture. A young lady asked me yesterday about, how do you get started? I said, you just got to start working somewhere and start getting the feel for that industry. Whatever industry you want to do, you just got to start and then get other people. Don't be afraid to ask. All these successful people around are willing to help. That's the fun thing, right? Because we love mentoring, we love talking to the kids. So I said, if you call me, I'll tell you. The first step is, I said, you got to look at the best scenario and the worst scenario and just do it. She's like, oh, I said, for you want to do, this bar business. The worst scenario, you're going to have this freestanding bar in your house. Yeah. You can't sleep. She's like, oh yeah, they never thought of it. So get a mentor, hang out with other people, and you got to work in the industry that you want to be in, because you might not like it and say, maybe not. This is not not for me. So
yeah, very true. What qualities or characteristics do you feel helped your success?
I was very, I wish I could have like that, like this amazing story. I'm such a creative, smart man. But it wasn't, having my older brother here, Bismarck was 14 years older than me, having him mentor me was the greatest gift I could ever ask. I mean, I come from a family of crazy, crazy entrepreneurs. Like my dad, leaving home when he's 10, working at 12, getting married at 17, moving to Brazil. I mean, this guy he's like pioneered to the hill. And then Newport Beach, California, where But Bismarck would allow me to do things like, including Wahoo's, like allow me to take chances in our family. And I started a company with him before Wahoo's. And I lost $50,000 back in the days, was a lot of money. And I was in Hong Kong, lost the money, and I come home, and you think that your brother's going to go, "What the hell? How could you do this?" Instead, he's like, "Dude, that sucked, man." Yeah, sorry about your money. It's like, we regrouped and did something else. My mom, same thing. She backed us up. She like, "Oh, as long as your brother's doing it, I'll let you go do it." So, and my mom always forgets that. That's why there was a 6-year span of career in college, because I would sometimes stop because my brother goes, "Can you do this for me?" I'm like, "I'll do it. I'll go to Montana. Shoot, I'll do it. I'll go." And there's so many funny stories. Some like is Bismarck, "What happens if I get caught doing this for you tonight?" He goes, "Yeah, you're going to jail." But don't worry. There's a lawyer, by the way. He's like, "Hey, I'll come and get you. Don't worry. We'll be fine." And things like that. So I grew up in that environment. So when somebody asked me like, what trades, I was very gifted. I mean, that's a gift that no other child in America thinks. I don't think they have the ability, right? But if it was a characteristic, learn, listen, listen and listen before you speak. Listen very carefully to the question, and do you get your list out. What are you good at and what you're bad at? Because then it'll tell you what kind of person and where you might fit within the organization you want to build. You cannot be great at everything. There's no possible way, Right. There's certain things like for me and my little brother and Wayne, we're all different, but we fit in this little circle of Wahoos that we can kind of complement each other. Yeah. Like if it wasn't for that, but that's knowing your strength and your weaknesses. Right. But I am super blessed that I had an amazing, crazy growing up, so. Yeah.
An incredible support system.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, sorry, go on.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Finally, what do you do when you're feeling overwhelmed or burnt out?
So when I'm way over the top, the only thing that clears my mind is going for a run. I go for a run. Okay. I run about 4.5 miles, 5 miles tops, and very slow. But, like when you're running, you really can't think about work, or you're not thinking about Michelle. You're not thinking about the wedding. You're not thinking about anything because you're thinking like, dang, I'm tired. And it's hard because you need to clear your head. Everybody needs to find that one thing. Everybody asks me like, well, doesn't surfing do that for you? No, surfing is something different because, you're out there. It's more like you're still competing a little bit. You're doing things, you're moving around, you're looking at things. Your mind is busy.
Right.
Surfing is a little bit, it's zen-y. It's like a zen moment, but it's still like you're moving around. You got to watch wherever. Running, you got your headset on, you're just running, and you need to clear your mind. I tell a lot of CEOs we talk, and guys that I like you see they're out of shape, and they're starting to fall apart. If you're not physically, you don't have to be in great shape, but you have to be physically in shape to be able to stay. Now, like, how are you going to take care of others if you haven't taken care of yourself?
Right.
Mental health is crucial. I think everybody needs a little time. And that to me helps me a lot. I run almost every day.
Wow. It sounds very meditative.
It is. I think to me, it's like, again, because you're not thinking, you're thinking a little bit of pain. And then especially going up a hill, going, man, this hill is longer than I thought. So you can't, this is why I always say, there's that 1 hour where you're not connected to anybody else. Like you can't, people that run and talk to other people, that's lame. Just get in your zone and just, power through and enjoy that 1 hour of that over whatever it is, 40 minutes of your life that don't connect with anyone. And it could be anything you want to do. Honestly, I don't know. I still read, in the afternoons a little bit too. I hide a lot, by the way. People don't know this, but let's say I'm having a bad day right now. On the way to Tableau, I'll actually sit in the parking lot for 10 minutes first. Because the other thing is, just because that's not that you and I, but let's say you upset me, why would I take it out on my chef, right?
Right.
Just get that 10 minutes and get your energy out, and get all that out. And then walk in there and pretend that everything is okay again. I think people need to step back a little bit. And now I think it's worse than ever before because we're so connected. That phone is unstoppable, right? That phone sucks. And it's the greatest invention ever.
I know. It's a dichotomy.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you sharing your story and being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course.